with Cody Rhodes talking about what The Rock handed him on the Raw after WrestleMania 40 and more. This is Wrestling Rambles. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we move on, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Rambles with notifications on, and don't forget to like the video. Advocating for more titles to be introduced in TNA Wrestling, Jordan Grace wrote on X, "Want intergender tag titles so bad." Bully Ray replied, "Uncle Bully has been pushing for those titles for years." SICW Wrestling joined with the St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame to induct Cowboy Bob Orton Jr. as his son Randy Orton gave a speech.
So watching that video was very cool, and I noticed everybody had a reaction to my father when he was selling certain things in the ring. It made you feel a certain way, and that is just one of the things that he did, dare I say, better than anybody else. The people the kids, the students at the Ace Wrestling Academy are very fortunate to have him as their mentor, because they're learning shit like that. That's where I learned that kind of stuff, and I owe everything, any success I've had in professional wrestling, I owe it to you, Pop. There's a lot of guys, Seth Rollins, Kevin Owens, guys like that had to find a way into the business on their own. And they didn't have a father and a grandfather and an uncle in the business. And my foot was in the door before I even knew I wanted to become a professional wrestler. So I had that opportunity because of all the hard work that you put in, all the thousands and thousands of miles driving up and down the road. St. Louis is wrestling town. It is now. It was especially a wrestling town back in the day. It was the heart and soul of the NWA. Anybody that was anybody. Once you came through St. Louis, you were on the way to making it. Is there like a place I need to stand for that stuff? Once you came through St. Louis, you knew you were on your way to making a name for yourself in this business. Chase Park Plaza, wrestling at the Chase. Chase Park Plaza, other than Madison Square Garden, is probably the most famous wrestling venue in the country. And my father didn't really work at Chase Park Plaza all that much, but my grandfather did. He was actually featured in the very first televised episode of Wrestling at the Chase in 1959, May of 1959. Yeah, so the Orton name goes way, way back. It starts with my grandfather, my uncle, and of course, my father, who, along with my mom, can't leave you out. You were there the whole time, man. You were the glue. 20 times on the dot before I was born, all over the country, from town to town, territory to territory. Finally, had a little baby named Randy, Randall, with one L, actually. Thanks, Mom. In Knoxville, Tennessee, I was born, and I think we lived in a couple other places, Kentucky, Connecticut, eventually settled in St. Louis in about 83. And from there, my father started with the WWF and was a part of the very first WrestleMania, as we all just saw, and as most of you probably already know. And one of my favorite memories from my career is performing in my very first WrestleMania, WrestleMania 20, at Madison Square Garden. And the best part about that night, what made it a memorable moment for me, probably one of the top, if not the top memories for me, was the fact that my father was there and he got to watch as I was in the ring with the likes of Ric Flair, Mick Foley, and The Rock, and Batista, and it was just, looking back, you know, for him to think at the very first WrestleMania, to not have an idea of how this thing would end up the following year, the year after that, 20 years later, now 40 years later, like he was involved in the beginning of something that would take the world by storm and would be about as mainstream as it gets. He paved the way for guys like me, the kids, the student that he teaches twice a week at the Ace Wrestling Academy. He paved the way for all the guys in the back at my work, whether it's AEW, WWE, Impact, Ring of Honor, Japan. Men like him paved the way. But that's not all he did. He wasn't just a professional wrestler. Back then, the money earning potential wasn't like it is now. I think we all know that. And he busted his ass for every cent that he made. And what really impresses me about my father is the sacrifices he made to make sure that we had food on the table. Because even though his love was professional wrestling, he tried his hand at other things too. He bounced at a bar over in Alton, Illinois for a little while. I remember seeing him come home, and I'm probably 10, 11, 12 years old. He had to wear a white shirt. I'll never forget on several occasions him coming home just covered in blood. And you know, one of those famous lines like, "Don't worry, kid, it's not my blood." Yeah. My dad's the toughest guy I've ever known. Without a doubt, the toughest dude I've ever known. He worked construction. He went in and on the gym with a fella and kind of got screwed on the deal and just like didn't matter. Picked up the bootstraps and he tried his hand at truck driving, drove school kids to school, drove buses. He ended up selling cars, and this isn't a knock at all. This shows you what kind of man he is. He couldn't do what he loved, but he did what he had to do because he loved his family more than anything else. And that brings us to where we are today. We're honoring him. Dad, you're already in the WWE Hall of Fame. And I'm honored that, just like Grandpa, you can be a part of the St. Louis Wrestling Hall of Fame. Give it up to my sister, everybody. She busts her ass too as a nurse. She's out there helping everybody. You don't need it the most. Ladies and gentlemen, my sister, Becky.
Speaking about his career in WWE, Cody Rhodes told Busted Open Radio, "I look in the mirror and I kind of tell myself the same thing. It used to say, hey, wake up and be the best wrestler in the world. That was just what I would say in my head. Now it's be the best champion in the world today. I do feel like we're hitting on all cylinders. The team I have on the road, there's some incredible people who help prop me up. I'll give flowers to John Cena, who helped put me in the right rooms. Nick Khan has been such an exceptional leader. Clearly, Triple H and I have a really unique player-coach relationship that I would have never anticipated. Him calling the plays and me being able to run them. I do feel like I'm hitting on all cylinders, but it's just like your high school football coach even when you were younger. Just like a coach would tell you, there's always somebody out there who's perhaps getting up 5 minutes earlier, who is perhaps doing a couple extra reps on the bench. I have seen footage from the Problem Child gym that Logan Paul and his brother train at, and you can't sleep on that type of athlete that he is. Especially because I don't think people know Logan has a folk-style wrestling background. I was looking into this guy, knowing if a fight broke out at the TV hotel bar, shockingly, he'd probably be one of the guys to win. He's the type that I know they're out there, the ones that are hungry, the ones that are waking up and wanting it, and I just want it more than them." Mark Henry would then tell Cody Rhodes to not apologize for how great he is and what he's achieved, as Rhodes replied, "Mark, I feel it, and I'll tell you this. One of the reasons I liked having Arn Anderson around was the same reason I would have loved to have my dad around me, because I'll tell you I'm lucky and I'll tell you how hard I work. I'll tell you how grateful I am, and that is true, but it was nice to have a guy over my shoulder say what you just said and say we're not apologizing for greatness where mediocrity loves company and we're not joining that company. It was nice to have that voice in your ear. It was something I missed when Logan and I were doing this contract signing, to see him flanked by so many people. I don't know, maybe I'm looking for the classic wrestling manager to join me on this title reign. I don't know who that is or what that is, but it just felt like I wouldn't mind someone to holler the stuff that you just did. During that same interview, Cody Rhodes addressed his segment with The Rock from the Raw after WrestleMania 40, where the final boss handed the American Nightmare an object. It wasn't $1. It was certainly more expensive than that. I try to make a positive overture and olive branch to The Rock and the $7 team because I have an immense respect for what they've done. They set the table that I can eat at. He did not feel that that was a positive overture and handed it back to me. That's the best I can give you, bully, but I was pretty heart-stricken over the fact that it came back. But if anything, like Triple H told me, it's not fun and games for these guys. They're coming for you, and you either get ready or you don't. If we're looking at Star Wars parallels, I feel like we're maybe past Jedi at this point. Here's the struggle I have with a person like The Rock. I know it's underneath there. I know inside is the people's champion. I was the biggest Rock fan growing up. I know he's in there. That's not what returned. We got the final boss. We got the cursing. We got an unbelievably gritty and formidable, if you look at just his size compared to most wrestlers of the day in terms of his athletic ability and his size. I just wish the relationship had been different, and I can't sit here hoping for that forever. I can't sit here saying, man, I'd like to bring the people's champion back. I really would, because I think that's what's underneath there, but perhaps The Rock is too far gone. Also, Cody Rhodes recalled learning that The Rock and Roman Reigns could be facing off at WrestleMania 40, telling Busted Open Radio. One thing that might be revealed in the documentary might put things in a different perspective for people as I find out about the possibility of The Rock versus Roman Reigns the day of the Royal Rumble, and I had to leave that room head up and make sure no one knew what could possibly happen, and probably one of the more difficult days I've ever had in the wrestling business. But also, how could you complain when you're winning the Royal Rumble, when you're pointing at the sign and over 20,000 people in Tampa? It was such a high, such a low. I'll say this about the month leading up to WrestleMania 40. You try to create these ideal situations for yourself as an athlete. I just couldn't catch a break when it came to the ideal circumstance. I was just talking to Brandy about this morning, but my bus a few days before WrestleMania becomes a giant fireball out in the parking lot. Had to bring in a new bus for me. I'm sleeping in a bunk that was for a band. I was not going to be presented with the ideal circumstances. I had given into that and conceded that before WrestleMania because I just had this feeling, even all the way back to the Royal Rumble. I had this feeling that it was going to work out. Going over a potential return to WWE, former star for the company, Peyton Royce told Ring the Bell, "Yeah, I'm open to it for sure," she said about WWE's Royal Rumble. "I would love that. It'd be so good to catch up, and I mean, it's the Royal Rumble. We said no last time because we were still pretty hurt about it, but I feel healed now, and I feel like I'd love to do that if the opportunity came." Recalling the time he injured The Undertaker in a match, Rey Mysterio said this on the Jackson podcast. "Not to mention that the first time I wrestled him, The Undertaker, I ended up breaking his orbital socket. I was scared shitless. I do this move where I spring on the top rope and I jump and I pretty much sit on your chest and bring you down. I think what happened is when I sat down and we both fell, my ass went like this and it pushed up against his face. It's not that big. Imagine being the first time you're stepping in the ring with him as a legend that he is. I just wanted to make sure that my work was good enough to please him to say, hey, let me work with him again, and I wanted to make sure I didn't hurt. We protect each other. We gotta feed, we gotta fight, we gotta live to fight another day, and we gotta make sure we're good. But with him, I was really tense. That butterfly nervous feeling that I have every time I step in the ring, it was like 3 times as much working him for the first time. But overall, an incredible person, incredible human being. 100% Undertaker knew it was a mistake. No, he was not upset, and we worked again a couple times after that too. Speaking about his departure from WWE, Scripps, also known as Reggie, said this to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful. I am full on excited for this next chapter in my story. People don't know this, but I did circus for 16 years. I was ready to lay that career aside and go on the independent circuit if WWE didn't offer me a contract. I was willing to dive into this head first from the very beginning, but I was fortunate enough to get a contract with WWE, so that didn't happen. Now I'm here and I'm excited to do that. Lots of companies have hit me up, lots of projects in the works. The future is very, very bright. It was a great conversation. I don't know what a conversation like that is. We're going another direction. Good luck on your future endeavors. That was the conversation people said was happening, but I got a call and it was, hey Reg, I hate to be the one to have this call and give you this news. I knew right there, but it's a person I have a really good relationship with. He said, unfortunately, we're not going to renew your contract. I want you to know the door isn't closed. It's forever open. You were such a great talent. You were great to work with. A joy to be around. Just a flattering message. I thought in my head, if I'm that great, why can't I get a new contract? But it was a good conversation. I was like, okay, what's next? My biggest thing was, I didn't leave on bad blood. That's not who I am. I'm a very positive guy. My brother is heavy in drugs right now. My grandmother is sick. My other brother is in jail. My other brother is in a mental hospital from a car crash when he was 16. I have people that are constantly dying back in St. Louis, and I'm living a life that many would kill to be in my shoes. I have nothing to be upset about. This is just another obstacle, another hurdle that I have to jump. It wasn't a bad call at all. Asked about the possibility of him replacing Paul Heyman in the Bloodline, Rikishi said this on his Off the Top podcast. Damn it, every time I keep trying to leave myself out, you guys keep trying to pull me back in. And of course, I'm not saying no, I won't. What I'm saying is, hey, I'll see it coming a mile away and I'll know when it's time for me to throw my name in the hat. At the end of the day, we're going to make sure that this is going to be an even playing field for the Bloodline on both sides. Prior to SmackDown last week, WWE star and former service member Montez Ford visited those in the Marine Corps and posted this video on Instagram. Revealing that he needs surgery on his neck, Bryan Danielson said this to AEW in a digital exclusive. Somebody paid a price to take out FTR, to take out me before Anarchy in the arena. We know exactly who it is. No, I hurt my neck real bad. Then I'm wrestling Will Ospreay. I go to give him a Frankensteiner off the top rope. I've never had this happen to me. Dude lands right on his feet. I go straight down on my head, and then later in the match, right before he pins me, he hits me with a storm driver. I got shooting pains down my arm. I'm at home and I have to go get MRIs. I have a compression of the nerve root at C6, C7, and C7T1. I've got this shooting pain that's running down my arm that won't go away. The doctor is telling me that pretty sure I'm going to have surgery. The only way I can hold out, is if I can keep the strength in my right hand. Right now, it's still there. I have the shooting pain, but I've still got the strength. So I plan on staying at home, recovering, doing physical therapy. I'm watching Dynamite and I see the Young Bucks and the Elite pile drive Tony Khan, the guy who started this company, the guy who, if you weren't here, this company wouldn't even exist. I watched that and I was angry, mad as hell. Then I watched the next week as they took out Kenny Omega, hospitalized him when he's already sick, when he's already hurt. You were supposed to change the world together. Together. That's how I know you guys say you're good Christian boys, but you guys are evil. Because who turns their back on their best friend like that? That's when I realized I can't stay at home anymore. I can't rehab anymore. I have to come back and I have to fight. I have to fight for AEW because I love this place. You guys say you want to change the world. You won't even show up on a Saturday. They only want to work 1 day a week and they want to run this place. Anybody, oh heaven forbid, anybody stand up to them. Heaven forbid anybody stand up and say what I just said, that they're lazy, that they only want to work 1 day a week. Then they put a price on our heads. Go ahead, put a price on my head. I've had a lot of people a lot stronger than you, a lot more powerful than you, put prices on my head. I'm still here. Anarchy in the arena, you guys better come for a fight. I'm gonna tell you exactly what I'm gonna do. Young Bucks, Jack Perry, even Okada, I'm gonna spit in your face. Cause I used to respect you and I don't respect you anymore. For an update on a star's in-ring status, Ringside News wrote that in January, Cora Jade suffered a torn ACL at a WWE NXT live event, raising concerns among fans about a potentially lengthy absence following the injury. She underwent surgery and began a recovery process. During the recent NXT live event in Fort Pierce, Cora Jade stunned fans by making an appearance. In a bold move, she took the microphone and announced that she is just a few months away from stepping back into the ring. Moreover, Cora Jade made her intentions clear by challenging NXT Women's Champion Roxanne Perez, declaring her aim to capture the title upon her return to action. Generally, ACL injuries take anywhere between 9 to 11 months to fully heal and be cleared by WWE for in-ring competition. Considering Cora Jade's injury occurred in close to the end of January, so her earliest possible return to in-ring action competition would be somewhere around October. And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all later.